Almost every barrel of oil on Earth is bought with US dollars. Around 25 billion barrels a year, worth more than $2 trillion. So before anyone buys oil, they have to get dollars first. Demand for oil becomes demand for dollars. But the sellers don't spend it all. The surplus flows back to America, buying up US government debt. That whole loop is called the petrodollar. And this loop, the story goes, does two things at once. It keeps the dollar the most powerful currency in the world, and it lets America borrow cheaply. By the end of this video, we will take both of those claims apart, and you will see that the petrodollar could end tomorrow, with the dollar still the world's top currency. Let's start by following a single oil payment, step by step, watching both sides of the loop in action. So take one such payment. A refinery in India buying a tanker of Saudi oil, 2 million barrels, around $160 million worth. The refinery earns rupees, but oil is paid for in dollars. So it buys dollars first and sends them to Saudi Arabia, and the oil tanker sails for India. Saudi Arabia now holds the dollars. It spends most of them abroad to buy what it does not make at home. But it takes in more than it spends, and the surplus piles up. On the other side, the United States spends far more than it collects in taxes, so it has to borrow. To do that, it sells treasury bonds, government debt that pays interest to whoever holds it. Saudi Arabia needs a safe place for its surplus. Because the United States has always paid its debts, its bonds are treated as the safest bet in the world. So Saudi Arabia buys those bonds, and the other oil states do the same. Saudi Arabia alone holds about $140 billion of US debt. That is the whole loop and its two sides, buying oil of dollars and lending them back to America. We will test both, starting with the buying. Almost all the world's oil trade is paid for in dollars, about $2 trillion a year. Compare that to all the world's trade. Close to half of it is done in dollars, about $16 trillion worth a year. Oil is an eighth of that. So the demand for dollars is not mainly about oil. It comes from nearly everything the world buys and sells. Trade is only part of the demand. The world stores its savings in dollars too. About 57% of the world's currency reserves, around $7 trillion, most of it held as American government debt. That is because America has the world's largest economy, about a quarter of global output, and by far the biggest market for its debt, around $30 trillion in treasury bonds, easily bought and sold, and the dollar reinforces itself. A currency is only worth holding if others accept it, and the whole world already accepts dollars. A country that switched on its own would still need dollars to trade with everyone who did not, so almost no one switches. None of this is new. The dollar became the world's money in 1944 at Bretton Woods, where the world's currencies were tied to the dollar and the dollar to gold. Oil was sold in dollars even then, because the dollar was already the money everyone trusted. Take it all together and the claim collapses. The world does not need dollars because of oil. That leaves the other side of the loop, the oil money lent back to America as debt, said to let it borrow cheaply. To find out if it does, we go back to when that side began, in the 1970s. Before then, oil was cheap, about $3 a barrel, so its sellers earned no great surplus. And because every dollar could be exchanged for gold, America could not borrow without limit. By 1971, America had issued far more dollars than its gold could cover. So it ended the promise to exchange them for gold, and the dollar began to lose value. In 1973, war in the Middle East and an Arab oil embargo drove the oil price up fourfold, and the oil exporters earned far more dollars than they could spend. No longer bound by gold, America borrowed more heavily and needed buyers for that debt. In 1974, it struck a deal with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis would put their oil dollars into US Treasury bonds, and in return, America would arm and protect them. It solved two problems at once: a safe home for the Saudi surplus and a buyer for America's debt. The loop was complete. But that flow of oil dollars into US Treasury bonds has faded ever since. In 1977, Saudi Arabia alone held about a fifth of all foreign-owned US debt. Today it holds 1 part in 70, and America's largest foreign lenders are no longer oil states, but Japan, Britain, and China. The petrodollar was a crutch the dollar leaned on for 1 hard decade. And it outgrew that crutch long ago. If oil matters this little, then a country that stops selling its oil in dollars and moves to another currency should make no difference to the dollar at all. This happened more than once after countries were cut off from the dollar. Iran is one example. Years ago, American sanctions forced it to sell its oil in euros and yuan, and it opened its own oil exchange to trade outside the dollar. It made no difference. The dollar was used just as widely as before. The other example is Russia. It produces about 1 barrel of oil in every 10, and in 2022, after it invaded Ukraine, Western sanctions cut it off from the dollar almost overnight. Russia then sold its oil in Chinese yuan and Indian rupees, and still the dollar barely moved. The year one of the world's biggest exporters was forced off it, its share of the world's currency reserves slipped by less than half a point, from about 59%. All told, about a fifth of the world's oil trade is now off the dollar, and none of it has touched the dollar's place at the top. The real danger is closer to home. That danger is inside the United States itself, in its 2 habits: borrowing too heavily and using the dollar as a weapon. Take the debt first. The American government now pays about $1 trillion a year just in interest on what it owes, more than it spends on its entire military. Then there is the weaponizing of the dollar. Because most dollar payments pass through American banks, Washington can shut almost any country out of the system, and it has done so often enough that others have started to look for a way around it. As of yet, there is no alternative. The largest rival is the euro, at about a fifth of the world's reserves, but it is not backed by one unified government and it has no unified debt market the way the dollar does. China's yuan, the rival most people watch, sits at about 2%. The main reason is that China keeps tight control over its currency. A country can get paid in yuan, but moving that money out of China is hard. The effect is much like American sanctions. But America blocks only the few countries it sanctions, while China limits everyone, all the time. So the world keeps its reserves in dollars. If the dollar ever loses its place, it will be from within, in America's own choices. Oil will have no part in it.